Look next at pages and posts in WordPress. Pages and posts in WordPress are very, very similar things, almost identical. The main difference between a page and a post is a page is kind of a permanent item that should be kept accurate all the time and have concrete facts about maybe your offerings or services. Posts are more like timely bits of information, often referred to as a blog, although it could be called many other things like press releases or news. Um, Posts are those timely announcements about what's going on. So in DRM's case, I'm going to say a page might have information about our current gear that's available to use either for rent or in our production work. So if we bought a new great camera in 2021, we would list that camera on our page about our gear, and we might announce the fact that we just bought this new camera in 2021 and we're excited to be able to use it as a post. In 5 years, that camera most likely will be replaced with a new one. The gear page will get updated. The old camera will go away. The new camera will get listed. The post from 2021 is still accurate. In 2021, we bought that new camera. It might be bringing in some search engine traffic, organic traffic for us through search engine optimization, talking about this particular brand, model, availability in Ohio, stuff like that, and be bringing us traffic, and still is an accurate post from 2021. So that post would stay relevant and stay live on our site back from 2021. We might announce a new one in 2026 when we buy the new one, and update the page accordingly. So that's really the primary difference between those two. Otherwise, these two pages function almost exactly the same. So in here in pages, we're going to take a look at how these page and post areas work. So when we're on the main page here, we see we're on the all pages link, and it is showing all the pages that are part of our site right now. This is a single page site, so we have a home page that is marked as the front page. We also have a test page in there where we can play around. It's in draft mode, which means that it is never going to show up, never going to be indexed. Speaking of indexing, we do want to bring up that even if you don't link to a page from anywhere, we have put in place some search engine optimization tools that includes a sitemap. And what that means is if you publish a page, even if you don't link to it from anywhere, it is getting reported to Bing and Google and their webmaster tools that, hey, there's a new page here. So there is no privacy on the web once something is published for the general public to see. So here we've got our home page. It's indicated by front page. If you have multiple pages here, there will only ever be one page that is marked as front page, and that will be the main page that you go to when you visit your URL, which in this case is newmark.drminc.com. So if I click on the word home, I'm going to be taken to the edit screen for the home page. And the first time this comes up, it may say something about welcome to the block editor or have a few random announcements. You can just click through those or click through those tours if you want to see anything. But basically we're going to end up right here in the full screen editor mode of WordPress. And we're just going to work through this page kind of top to bottom. Up here at the top, we've got an H1 and a title for this page. So the title for this page means that it's what shows up here in the URL. It also is what can show up in search engine optimization on the search engine results page. And it's basically kind of your primary title for the page. It tends to also be used in the permalink. When it's the home page, there is no particular add-on for the end of the URL. So in this case, it is just the full URL, but normally what you have typed in here ends up on the end of this right here. So it would be like newmark.drminc.com/home. And so this is serving a whole lot of purposes. We want to talk about headings and organizing your content next. In the world of the web, we have headings, H1 through H6. And if you think back to English class, you probably had to write a paper at some point. You probably had to outline your content. In the world of the web, the H1 is used once, and it's the title for your paper. And then as you start to organize your thoughts, you have those primary bullet points. Those become your H2s, and then your subpoints become your H3s, and your subpoints under those become your H4s, and so on and so forth. So if we come in here, we can see that we have a heading here that is an H2. This is doing multiple things. It's for search engine optimization purposes, telling Google and Bing how this page is organized. The more organized you can keep your page, the better you'll do on the SEO structure, and just getting that set right up front is a great thing to have done. The other thing it does is it takes care of multiple design elements. In this case, you can see that it is increasing the font size, it's changing the font family, and basically taking care of quite a few things for us automatically. Anytime we click on an item in here, the block editor over on the right shows relevant items about what we have selected. In this case, I have a separator that has that horizontal line that is branded and colored and good to go. If I click back on the heading, I'm now seeing heading relevant items here. I have some overrides I can do. Generally, to keep on brand, we don't want to do that terribly often. We want to follow the design that was laid out during creation of the site. So we won't do too much overrides there, but just know you can come in and you can do a few things like modify the color override. If you do that and change your mind, we'll just hit the clear button and it'll head right back to normal. So just know that this bar over on the right changes based on what's selected, and this bar right up above also changes based on what's selected. When we're organizing our content, it is super easy to rearrange things. So here I've got a paragraph. Paragraphs are the real body of your content. So we have our heading to organize it and to structure our content, and then as we start writing things out, we head straight to the paragraph type. If I want to rearrange this, I can drag and drop. As I start to drag and drop, I see blue bars start to show up as to where it will end up. So as I drop it beneath there, now this paragraph comes after the first one. Just a side note, we have a bunch of, it's called lorem ipsum text, various Latin phrases that just randomly fill in to have some dummy text on here for our generic training video. So as I rearrange this, if I change my mind, I can drag this now and right back. I also can take advantage of the undo option, which is right here up at the top. So as I undo, that'll flip it right back. There's other ways to move things around too. If you just want to go up one or down one, you can use those. You can see some overrides for the text available right and floating right up above. A big one that's always worth talking about is being able to link items. So if I highlight some text, and let's say this is the bit that's talking about the thing that I want to link to. So here I'll come to the hyperlink option, and I can paste in a URL. I can type something in there like google.com, and it would go straight to Google. I'm going to undo that, or I can select that and start to type items that are on the page as well, and it will suggest pages that are published. In this case, we've got our test URL in there. So if I head to that, we can see that this isn't a published page, so it doesn't go anywhere yet. But if I were to publish that other test page, it would suggest that page as an option right here in this drop-down link. So here it's suggesting a link right back to itself to the home page. This can also list PDFs that you upload to the media library, which we'll cover in another video. So being able to link items, really critical, and we don't want that to go anywhere. So we're just going to click this again to unlink it and now remove that. But you can see how you can quickly override some text there. The next thing we want to get into is adding our own blocks. So you can see here, for example, we've got the DRM button block. We have a lot of ways to replicate what we're doing here. We could copy and paste. We could duplicate. Copy and paste is a new WordPress thing. It works across pages. You can copy from this page, go navigate back to your pages area and go to another page and paste. Duplicate would duplicate it right in place. So now we've got two Let's Talk buttons one right after another. And we can edit the second one to go somewhere else. Like let's look for letstalk.com and say that we had a cool landing page there. It would then go there, and we can change this. Maybe we don't want the apostrophe in there, and we've got Let's Talk as our link. We can override some things like the background color. We can change the style of the button as far as like what it does when it hovers. So here you can see in this case now it kind of goes a little bit darker because we've got the lighter default, and we can start to play with quite a few other overrides and advanced settings. So we won't go too much into these other details, but just know that you can drive into a lot of these options on any kind of block. So now let's start a block from scratch. So let's hit the plus. And that last thing was an example of the DRM button. You can see it's the most recently used one, so it's listed right here. But let's say it wasn't. We can type in the word DRM, and we can see that DRM button comes up as a suggestion. I could also type in the word button and see that multiple button plugins and blocks are available to me based on some of the plugins that are installed. So I'll add the DRM button again. We'll see that now it's expecting me to type in some text here. So let's say this is our new button, and we've got that text there. We've got some reasonable defaults that match our color scheme already set. We've seen that we can do some overrides, so maybe we have the dark color by default and the slightly lighter version for the hover, and then we want to link it. So we'll type in here a URL, and in this case we'll type in home, and it would potentially go and suggest the home page. In this case, let's just go to google.com, and we'll have a link over to Google from our page. As we continue working through the content, know that you can add blocks anywhere you see these pluses. So the way you get those pluses to show up is you just kind of hover your mouse in between sections of content, and you'll see the relevant blocks show up as options. So here we'll add something underneath this section, and let's go ahead and do a picture and content block. So picture and content, last individual block example would let us choose an image, and when we choose an image it brings up the media library. Media library is anything we've already uploaded to our site, or we can come over to upload files and we can upload something directly from our computer. Anytime we upload something directly from our computer, we do want to take just a moment and tweak it. So I'm going to upload this picture from the Richland Area Chamber real quick. So I'll hit open, and it's going to upload that picture and have it selected already. Couple things that's great to do anytime you're putting up new media, and we'll cover this in more detail in the media library video, but we want to make sure that we fill in some alt text. Alt text is great for search engine optimization and making sure that accessibility is maintained on your site for people that are using screen readers or maybe have some visual impairment where they wouldn't be able to see the picture directly. So here we would maybe type in crowd about to cut the ribbon for a business opening. So we're describing what the image is. If the image is purely decorative, like this background, we would not describe anything about it at all. We want to not distract accessibility with decorative elements. So here we'll come down to title, and we'll say the title is ribbon cutting. And depending on the site, it may take advantage of the caption and description options. Caption is often used in like a gallery Description can be used in a gallery setting or a few other settings as well. So not a bad idea to put the same thing kind of there for the caption, maybe the same thing for the description as well, although it really depends on the site for how much you want to get into this. These do allow additional text. I'm going to click and drag here so I can grow this. And here we'll say, the business opened successfully thereafter. So you have plenty of space to use. And just know that you can get all of those in there once. And now that that picture is in there and tagged once in the database, it is good to go across the site. Anytime I use that image again, all that data goes in there for me automatically. So here we'll talk briefly about the image and have some demo text to put in there. Okay, so we've got kind of our block set up. We've got paragraphs now. I want to get right back to the parent of this paragraph, which is the block that contains both of these elements. So I can do that by hovering and clicking the parent, and now I'm right back to the picture and content block where we're picking everything. I can see that I've got some great override options here. 16:9 happens to work really well for this image, so that default is great. But I can do some other things like setting it to the height of the screen. So based on the viewer's screen is how tall that will be. It will never be taller than 33%. If I'm very restrictive about it, maybe I want it super wide. Let's see here, super wide. Super wide is probably going to be closest at 25%. I want to be real careful on the vertical focus. Let's say the people are standing very close to the top of that image. I could hit 0% and make sure that their eye line comes into place no matter the device that you're on, or all the way down at the bottom. This is an example of what not to do. If you see this, come in here for the vertical focus and get it set correctly again. Try to keep that eye line in there at all times. I'm going to bring it down just a touch so that I can see some more of the flowers that's going on. And then horizontal focus, depending on if this were a vertical picture and an alternate container, maybe you have to do some arrangement left and right. In this case, we're seeing the entire picture left to right, so changing this doesn't do anything in particular. Content settings, we've got all of these kind of overrides that we can do again to kind of set various settings. When things go responsive, what that means is that certain screen sizes will rearrange the content differently. So maybe on a phone, there isn't enough room for this to show side by side. So it will stack it. So you can override, do you want the picture to be above the text or the picture to be below the text? Or do you want to force it to fit side by side? And you can make some of those changes if you want for each screen size type. So small would be like a phone, medium would be like a large phone, small tablet, large is really getting into a desktop, maybe a super large tablet, and extra large would definitely be a desktop with a wide monitor. That's really just getting into all these overrides, all these things you can do. And again, you just can work through the block every time. Now, aside from the block, there's some things we want to pay attention to across the board on the page. And no matter what block you're on, whether it be a heading or individual paragraph text, image items, you can always just click over to the page to see the overarching page settings. So in here, we can modify whether this page is visible. We can change the publish date on this. Very important for like blog and ongoing posts. You can write all of your blog content ahead of time and schedule it out throughout the month. So if you have a goal of posting a new blog once a week, you can write all your blog posts at the beginning of the month and schedule them to go live every Sunday, for example, throughout the month. And it will take care of that for you. Another great item, really cool, is being able to modify items with revisions. So we're going to come up real quick and just make a quick change and say, this is my best heading line. And I just want something real obvious that we can find quickly and easily. I'm going to update it. When we are done editing anything, we want to make sure that we hit update. The other thing you can do, update makes it live for everyone. So now if I go to this page on the front end and I refresh this, I will see the updated content. So in this case, I've got my updated heading in there and it's live and ready to go. If I come back to my edit, I could also use the preview to see that in a situation where it's not live. So this is not live, not saved. And I come in here and I hit preview a new tab, and it's going to open up a new tab and let me see what this page looks like without it being live. So here in my preview, it shows this is my best heading not live. And here on the actual page for what the general public would see, if I refresh that, we can see that that not live is not actually in there. Okay, so we've got our preview here. We're going to close out. We're going to come back to our edit page, and we're going to take a look at what this revision system can do. My revisions count went up. We now have 281 revisions. I'm going to leave because I don't want to save what I just did with the text that says not live. And there is a lot of items in here, a lot of text. This gets into the code of the site. So you can see all of this underlying code. But I want to bring your attention to this item right here. We added this line that says, this is my best heading line. The current version has that. The previous version does not. So if I hit this previous button right here, I can click that. It'll go back a version, and that text will no longer be in there. And then I can hit restore this revision. It's now going to take the page back to the version prior to me having made any changes. So in this version now, prior to me making any changes, we don't have the extra button. We don't have the this is my new headline. We don't have any of those extra blocks that we added down here because we reverted it back one revision back. We also noticed that now we have one more new revision. So we didn't lose what we just did. It's just now back in one revision back. This is super powerful because it lets you know that you can get in there, work on your site, and not have to worry about breaking things. You can get in there, you can play, and know that you can always roll back a version. Another big one is permalink. Permalink is where you can edit the URL of the page. This is the home page, so it's set and permanent. But if you wanted, say, something like / migrate page, and your title was this is my great page, you can edit that slug so that it goes only to migrate page. Featured images are used on certain sites. So if you have some items set in there, you can set that featured image. Very handy on like a blog where you might have a blog role, and that featured image is the one image that shows up in the listing view. That's really a great overview of the page and post settings. Know that there just may be more or less items depending on how your site was built out, and that you can just jump in and start editing items based on what we've already got created. You can also use that duplicate to recreate items without having to start over from scratch. So again, just looking at this whole section, I can duplicate, copy and paste any of the above, and I want to take advantage of anything that we've already done layout wise. You don't have to start from scratch. You find an element you like, you copy and paste it, or you duplicate it and you go from there. Last but not least, always remember to update when you're ready to go. We're not going to save anything, so we're just going to hit the W to navigate away. We'll leave without saving, and we'll be back at our pages area where we can we'll go from there. We do have this test page. I'm going to show you real quick how you can delete something. We'll move it into the trash. It's going to take it out of the page list, and it will be available to you in the trash area up here where you could restore it or delete it permanently. But that is your basic overview of pages. Posts works exactly the same, just with those caveats we said right at the beginning. Thanks, and next we'll move on to the media library in the next video.